If people haven't received their ballots yet, we can at least start the proceedings because this will probably take a while. And again, thank everyone for coming and spending this beautiful Friday night with us, caring enough about your town to come here and do your civic duty and participate in this important issue. And I think this is probably one of the bigger turnouts of eligible voters at the town meeting that's happened in Litchfield County in a long time. So again, thank you for everyone for coming. And I'd like to start the meeting by asking for a nomination for moderator.
I nominate Scott Cady. Second.
So there's a nomination for Scott Cady and a second. Are there any other nominations for moderator? Is there a motion to close nominations for moderator? There's a motion and a second to close nominations for moderator. All those in favor of closing nominations for moderator say aye. Aye. All those opposed to closing nominations for moderator? No one's opposed. All those in favor of Scott Cady as moderator say aye. Aye. Any opposed? There you go. Scott happens to be here. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you all very much. I would like to begin by having the town clerk read the call.
Electors and citizens qualified to vote in town meetings of the town of Cornwall are hereby notified.
Talking to the mic.
Use the mic, please. Thank you.
Electors and citizens qualified to vote in town meetings of the town of Cornwall are hereby notified and warned that a special town meeting will be held on Friday, July 26, 2019 at 7:00 p.m. at the Cornwall Consolidated School for the following purposes. Upon recommendation of the Board of Finance and of the Board of Selectmen and the West Cornwall Water Septic Study Group to authorize the expenditure of up to $10,000 for engineering and consulting work necessary to apply for grants for a community sewer system in West Cornwall so as to continue the work of the West Cornwall Water Septic Study Group. Dated and signed at Cornwall, Connecticut, this 18th day of June 2019 by a majority of the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you very much. And welcome to you all. Thank you all for coming out. It is indeed a wonderful evening to be together to have this conversation. So you are the legislature of the town of Cornwall. And it is our intention this evening to conduct our business in such a way as to discern the will of this body and take appropriate action. If you are eligible to vote in this meeting, you should have received a ballot on your way in. If you have not received one yet, please see the folks at one of the tables in the back. If you normally vote in Cornwall elections, you are eligible to vote in this meeting. Also, if you are a property owner listed on the grand list, you may be eligible to vote this evening, even if you normally vote in another town. If you have questions about your status, the assistants at the back tables are here to help you. So to facilitate tonight's meeting, I'd like to follow a few procedures. There's a microphone that Vera just used, and if you'd like to speak to this question, I'd like it if you could go to that microphone and line up at the mic, and you will be able to speak as your turn comes. If you are unable to get to the mic and need to speak, let us know that and we can get the mic to you. When you come to the mic, please address only the motion that we're here to consider. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Please do not debate other individuals, but address your thoughts to the assembly as a whole, although you certainly may ask questions of the people here at the panel as well. Please do not try to speak a second time until everyone who wishes to speak has had a chance to do so. And this is very important. Your ballot is for you alone, so voting will take place after the discussion has come to an end. You may not vote before the discussion is over. And you may not leave your vote with anyone, your ballot with anyone else for them to cast. So when the time for the vote comes, we will put a box out here, and you'll come forward and slip your ballot into it. Then the votes will be counted up here on the stage, and the results will be given to me to announce. You're welcome to remain here to hear the results, but you are also free to leave after casting your vote. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make the following motion that upon recommendation of the Board of Finance, the Board of Selectmen, and the West Cornwall Septic Study Group to authorize the expenditure of up to $10,000 for engineering and consulting work necessary to apply for grants for a community sewer system in West Cornwall so as to continue the work of the West Cornwall Water Septic Study Group.
Thank you very much. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All right, we'll begin our discussion with some of the folks up front here. So, Joe, I understand that you would share some information first about the finance part of it.
Hello, can you hear me? I get to go first.
Stand up.
I'm the.
Thank you.
Hello. I am chairman of the Board of Finance. We recently approved the measure that you will be voting on tonight, and I'd like to go over some of the points that we considered in that approval process. Investments in West Cornwall have been curtailed by deficiencies related to inadequate sewer and septic systems in a dense area. Such lack of investment has both a direct impact on the grant list as well as indirect impact. While difficult to quantify, the town is open to some liability in terms of the sanitary conditions of West Cornwall and its impact on residents and the watershed. This could mean legal fees in addition to the cost of improvements. Any such legal battle would likely be well covered by the media and hurt the town's reputation. The town is in a strong financial position with AA rating, a low mill rate, and low historical budget increases. Interest rates are at historic lows. We are very close to paying off the gym bond. This project is not unlike a gym. It directly benefits a few, but improves the overall health of the entire town. The covered bridge is a historical and valuable regional landmark that is a natural draw for Cornwall's economic growth and revitalization. To any degree that the Cornwall residents are being adversely impacted by unsafe water through circumstances beyond their control, it is a moral imperative that the town address it. Therefore, the purpose of this vote is to prepare a preliminary application to the USDA to determine the suitability of this project in terms of their program. Such a grant and loan would mean we can benefit from a federal government interest rate and a long-term term. So the term could match the useful life of the project. The USDA could provide Cornwall up to 45% of what we spend. So that's pretty good. And I just wanted to say, an aside, our town finance director, Barbara, who's over there, she's done 2 of these for Kent. So she's very familiar with the process. I feel good about that. And she can help with the application and manage the whole process. You know, if it does go forward, we have an inside person who knows what she's doing. So that's kind of a plus. Lastly, this is the first step to determine the eligibility and to help define the financial feasibility of this project. There will be future votes by the Board of Finance, as well as future opportunities for public referendums. The Board of Finance believes citizens should vote yes on this very first step. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joe. Todd, would you like to share some thoughts?
Sure, thank you. Hello again. I am Todd Piker, the West Cornwall Water Septic Study Committee Chair. I welcome many of you back to this town gathering and am grateful for those that have turned up today for the first time. This subject, community septic for the West Cornwall hamlet, has been studied on and off for many, many years. In one of our first meetings, Gordon produced an archival document of drawings made many decades ago in a civic effort to address the problem. The world was a much different place back then, and we all need to factor that reality into our thinking. Our studies as a committee have been a painstakingly halting process. Many meetings, although publicly noticed and memorialized with posted minutes, were held without any public participation. As the subject started to yield potentially substantive results, our meetings began to be settings for discussions about impact. Initially, the concern was who will pay for the system. Then we began to hear impassioned pleas about property devaluation and reluctance to live anywhere near a facility that processed waste. Of course, these are real concerns, and we have made it our highest priority to address them. We continuously task our experts, engineers, civic leaders, knowledgeable leaders from communities with functioning community systems to provide us answers/alternatives that address these concerns. Much to my surprise, we have managed to claw our way through the thicket. Tonight's vote will provide us a much-needed component of our journey. What does the town at large, not just the occupants of West Cornwall, think about this project and more expenditure at this moment? Up to $10,000 seems a small amount to get more answers, the funding potential from grants. But this is how the process works. We voted overwhelmingly as a committee to approve the rewritten executive summary that includes work to prepare and submit both engineering and environmental impact reports. To raise and expend these monies, we must go through this step of public approval, just as we have gone through the years of noticed meetings and the due diligence attendant to our willingness to address everyone's concern. We cannot skip this step, and we mustn't address other specifics before we have studied and created them. I promise you, if this vote passes, I will do my best to bring us to that promised land. Without the requested funding, our work today will not be for naught. All the data will remain for a future generation. And perhaps someday our children will bring it out and dust it off, because it will again be the right time to move forward. Before I close, I'd like to acknowledge a debt of gratitude to Gordon. He has been a continuous source of wisdom and reason about a subject that he always knew to be a political football, with as much potential for damage as good. His ability to provide guidance as it relates to protocol has helped me focus our work on the essentials of the study and provide recommendations. I also want to thank my fellow board members, co-chair Betsy Preston, Lisa Lansing-Simon, Joanne Wojtuziak, Richard Griggs, Ian Ingersoll, Dave Delinsky, Priscilla Pavel, Don Backman, and ex officio Richard Bramlett, for their tireless focus and commitment to doing the town's work in the public eye. This is a very high calling indeed, and I commend us all for our efforts. Thank you.
I would suggest that when the public discussion goes on, that we withhold applause to facilitate the time of the flow of the meeting. Thank you for that, Todd. Gordon, would you like to share a few words before we open the floor to discussion?
Sure, thank you, Scott. And again, thank the committee for 3 years of progress looking at a very complex issue and making progress on a practical way forward for the town. And I think really one of the overarching things here is we are here to gather to take a step towards the future of the town and decide, do we want to address a chronic problem or not? And again, I think we're here in some ways, though, to take a simple action on a complex problem, to consider spending up to $10,000 to secure grants for a community sewer system in West Cornwall and allow the work of the study group to continue. We are not here for final authorization of construction of the sewer system, setting sewer tax rates, or purchasing a site for a plant. We are voting to take the next logical steps to help resolve the increasing problems facing West Cornwall as part of our town of Cornwall. Norfolk recently received a 45% grant from USDA to redo their wastewater treatment system. There are other federal and state grants the town can apply for the proposed system. Without knowing the grant information, we cannot accurately project what the cost of the Cornwall taxpayers would be. But from the start of the discussion, the Board of Selectmen has made it clear that part of the cost will be borne by the system's users and customers in West Cornwall. Our board and the other town officials remain committed to come up with the most practical solution, and we have gone out and visited other towns that have been creative and successful in meeting such challenges. There are many reasons to move forward on this project that were articulated at the June 28th meeting here, and I'd encourage people that can't make this meeting tonight to also watch on video that meeting to get some of the background of the project. I would like to reiterate, this is not just a matter of increasing the tax base and having a vibrant village being worth more financially than a vacant one, but I'm impressed by how many people in town want to help bring West Cornwall back for a variety of excellent reasons, and an affirmative vote tonight is that first step. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So at this point, we're going to open the floor to conversation, and as I said, I'd like it if you could line up at that far microphone where Vera spoke, and as you are lined up, you'll step forward and turn. Use about 3 minutes, no more if you're able to do that, please, addressing the issue at hand, and we'll proceed with the meeting in that fashion. So please, anyone who wants to speak, there's the microphone. You are welcome to come forward. Again, if you want to speak but you can't make it to that mic for any reason, let me know. We'll get the mic to you. So do we have someone who'd like to share some thoughts?
Hello, my name is Toby Cole. I live up on Cream Hill Road. I really don't know much about this proposed sewage treatment that is being proposed for West Cornwall. I live in West Cornwall, not in the actual village itself, but and I've heard estimates of up to $4 million to build this plant, and then there will be the costs of the ongoing costs of running it, and I don't know if just the people who use it would be responsible for paying those costs or what. And then going down, looking into the future, I was wondering, the town of Cornwall Plains and Cornwall Bridge, they all have probably quite old septic systems too. And would they then be able to say sometime in the future, look, you've given a septic system to West Cornwall, how about us? And the third thing I was thinking, I don't know if it would be any kind of a solution, but what about the people who have, septic tanks which are in good shape? I mean, is it not possible to just have them pumped out as needed, and so that, any wastewater would not be, treated wastewater would not be dumped into the Housatonic River. I know that's a cost, but it just seems like it might be one cheaper solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There were some questions embedded in that comment. Does anyone at the table want to address any of those?
Yeah, I'll address some of those. I guess you maybe have not been at the earlier meetings or the informational meeting last month. We've covered a lot of this in the meetings that we've had during the last 3 years. And West Cornwall began to lose its economic viability sort of roughly 20 to 25 years ago as the buildings, as they changed hands, would receive the limitations on the use of the buildings by the Torrington Area Health Company or group, so that we couldn't use this building for this or this building for that. And because of the close proximity, there is no room for normal systems to exist anywhere. So the one solution, I mean, if you liked West Cornwall the way it was 20 or 25 years ago, a somewhat viable community, we'd like to prepare the ground so that we can get back to that point where we can support businesses in town and cause additional housing to be created within the existing buildings in town so that we don't have to build additional housing for lower income or elderly people down the road. The building's already available if we had a system like this. Currently, the systems in West Cornwall all interlock and intertwine. Water has gotten here, septic has gotten rid of there. It's just an unviable situation. And as a result, aside from the limitations to the economic viability of the town, we're polluting the Housatonic and the brook, Mill Brook, at a fairly strong rate. And the testings that we've done, it's like Susie Williams said last time at the meeting, because she had grown up in town, her dad used to tell her where they could swim in West Cornwall, because he knew where all the septic systems were leaching into Mill Brook and into the Housatonic. So what were some of the other questions you were talking about? So one of the other things you brought up was, what about other parts of town? Yes, there is potentially the same sort of problem that would exist in the lower part of Cornwall Bridge and might have to be addressed in the future. The one that we're looking at now, though, what's different about it in the 30 years that this problem has existed is that now we have high-tech solutions where we use these biofilters and all the water can be taken out of the system, and the problems you have is only getting rid of the water. Well, it's clean water, cleaner than what's in the Housatonic. We have a place to put that. The building itself is a very small building. Think of the electric companies' utility buildings that you see around the county, those small brick one-story buildings. This is another utility building similar to that, except for it'll probably be collaborative being in West Cornwall and fit in with the village. It doesn't make sound, no sound is emitted from the building, no smell is emitted from the building. It would sit comfortably within our village. It's a good, viable answer, and is a very important part of our infrastructure of the town, similar to any bridge that we build or any school gymnasium that we build. Was there another question in there?
Cost.
Oh, the cost?
Offset by the grants?
Yeah, the cost of this, during the time that we've discussed this, the cost of the filtration systems has come down dramatically because we are now making advancements in the filtration of water similar to what occurred with solar energy in the previous 15 to 20 years. All those solar panels were brought down to being cost effective. The treatment of water is the same thing as occurring now, and people are starting companies to do this. So there's a company in Canada that could prefab the whole system and truck it down. And this did not exist. We got into looking at this system originally, for those who haven't followed us, at the suggestion of the Torrington Area Health, who pointed out that 10 years ago, the Salisbury Boys School put in a similar system, a more primitive than what we would be putting in by 10 years. They put a system in there, and it's been running for 10 years, servicing community of 300 people up there in the hilltop. So that system is in place. If anybody wants to go view that in person, and I suggest that you do, since it is a working system, it's in a small building below the chapel, just to the south of the chapel. And it's a dirt road. You can see it from the road. You can drive in. You can listen to it. You can smell it. And that's the technology 10 years ago. Since then, we have been down on the coast of Connecticut, where this is a similar problem that occurs in all the coastal towns. And any new development that's happened along the coast, this type of system has been put in place to service a small shopping center with 8 to 10 stores. It will be a utility building that was set right there. The final place that we went to see, though, was a 5-star hotel on the coast overlooking the Sound, a place where they have banquets and weddings and occasions and regular hotel people as well. And their system existed not outside of the hotel, but within the hotel, immediately underneath the ballroom. So a room about this size, and they recycle all their water. Once they've taken the water off, they save a certain amount of it to do all their laundry in, because they use a lot of water within a hotel setting, cleaning linens and whatnot. And so,
I believe the question was cost.
cost. Okay, so the cost is, the cost has come down in the 10 years or the 3 years that we've been talking about this. Presumably in the next year or so, people are going to still make strides with that. We have located close to half of the money available through federal grants already. And even if nothing else were to happen, we would be coming off of the school bond. I think he explained the finances fairly clearly. So we would not expect any increase in the cost of putting in the system. As far as running the system, yes, the people who hook up to it will pay for their, like you would in, I think, a lighting district or a water district.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to the motion, please come to the microphone.
I'd like to call the question.
The question is being called, and what that means is that if this body would like to end discussion and go directly to a vote on the motion, you may do that. This requires a second and a 2/3 vote of the assembly to close discussion. Is there a second? So when we vote on the actual motion, we'll do that with the paper ballot you received, but this vote on closing debate, again, we need 2/3. We'll do that by a show of hands. All in favor of closing debate on this question, raise your hand. Thank you. All opposed to closing debate, please raise your hand. The motion to end debate has carried, and so I invite you to come forward as you are able. From the front rows, probably first. Move toward the box. Place your ballot in the box. Again, you are welcome to stay to hear the results, or you're free to leave after you cast your ballot. And when the ballots have all been cast, we will have the counters go up on the stage and count them. Thank you very much, everyone.
We had a great time too. So glad. So glad. We kept her out late one night. I just thought it was wonderful.
That's why we came down. It's important to the future of the town. So how do we know? Oh, don't worry, okay. We didn't worry, we all here at the time. The average age is not
Let's get out of the way. Not even, if it was a woman in here. Just jump over.
No, two-step. I won't do it. You gotta go in front of the lens.
They didn't read my announcement.
What?
They didn't read my decision.
Oh well.
Oh well.
Look at it, it's looking at you.
I'm working a lot of my garden. It's been a crazy garden. It has, but you know, once it stops raining, it's all good. Right, Bianca? It's a good gardening season.
I wouldn't know. I don't have a garden.
Well, yes, you do.
Oh, it has to grow on its own.
You're on camera, you know.
Get out of here.
I can't turn it off. It's got to be. This is documenting the entire thing. Wow. Hey, how are you? I'm vertical.
Good, good. Vertical's good.
Oh, that's the vote to...
Great video last month.
Oh, thanks.
We couldn't make the meeting. That video was fabulous.
Well, I'm videoing it now. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it wasn't a reason
You can send your comments to me. I have a whole file of people that thank me for doing this.
All right, we will do it then.
Thank you.
I'm against the traffic, but
Yeah, you can put your stuff in.
You got your husband back? Yeah. Wait, I don't see you.
Hey, Charlie.
Richard, how's it going?
Hi.
How you doing?
Okay.
Doing your thing, I see.
Oh yeah, got a document. Go for it. I'm videoing this thing too. How you doing? I'm vertical. You never know.
I voted.
My ballot is.
Has everyone who wants to vote placed their vote in the box?
Take your vote.
The box is right here in front of me. Okay, no problem. No problem. We're here. We're waiting for you. No problem.
I think it will take a while.
That? That. Oh.
The one who's getting destroyed. Oh my God, she messed up that.
She made a big boo-boo.
She
If you have already voted, please move to the side so those wanting to get to the box are able to come up here.
No, so that's, all right, somebody else. Yeah, somebody else. Richard Walker? Richard Walker, that's he was a business partner. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. He's here probably. Yeah, it could be. I'll ask him. The vertical.
Better than the alternative.
I see. You got stuff on there from like 2012. I'll get rid of it if you want. I'll get rid of it.
Something that made him.
And they thought he was just dehydrated.
Somebody should have had a coffee concession here.
What? Yeah, right. I'm videoing this. Well, whatever you want to say.
Hi, how are you?
I got out of the line of fire here.
I'm going to be the last.
I don't see anyone else lining up to cast a vote. Is there anyone else out there? Here's one more. Anyone with a ballot outstanding?
I'll wait. I'm going to wait.
Then I will declare the voting closed, and I will bring, oh, here's one more, and I will bring the box up to be counted on the stage. The voting is closed.
No cameras.
Okay.
Well, you have to get in front of the camera.
I'll beat the crap out of you, I'm sorry.
Is it still on?
I hope that you can take it.
I don't know.
So what's up? The pet's fruit and it's going to be a fruit pop? Fruit pop? Yeah. Hey guys.
So if that's what they decide, yes, it comes to fruition.
that gavel all night.
Aha.
So I have the results from the counters, and the yeses were 164, and the noes were 43, so the motion passes. I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion is carried, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you so very much.
All right, that's it. Cornwall Consolidated School.
You got him.
Yes vote.
Got him. You